Shalom. We are going to begin now the Torah again. A few days ago we had Simchat Torah, the day of celebration and joy of the Torah, when the Jewish people, everyone, is dancing and so happy over something that is in fact spiritual, the Torah that we learn. We are so happy about it. I mean, even in this year, the year of so many limitations because of the calamity that has fallen upon us and the whole world, people endangers their life to come together and to dance around that Torah which we read every Saturday and every Monday and Tuesday, and of course does not mean only the written Torah, but also the oral Torah that the Jew studies day and night. And it is the obligation of the Jew to study Torah, no question about it. So on Simchat Torah, we have several reasons why we celebrate so much with so much joy and so much enthusiasm. What's going on? Allow me to ask a few questions. Number one, why the celebration of the Torah happens on Simchat Torah, which is a special holiday that is known as Shmini Hag Atzeret. Atzeret means to stop. That means not to work for an additional day. Besides the 7 days of Sukkot that passed, we have an additional day, and according to the Midrash and our sages said that God Himself is asking His beloved people to give Him another day. Akevu iti yom echad. Please, He said to the Jewish people, stay with me one more day. Let's celebrate one more day together. Why? Kasha alay peridatchem. Using, of course, the terms of the sages. That God said to the Jewish people, it is so hard for me to separate from you. Of course, God never separates Himself from anyone. But it's in the figurative sense of the word. I mean, after 7 days of Sukkot, in which the celebration went on, in fulfilling the mitzvah of Sukkot, of the Sukkah, dwelling in the Sukkah, fulfilling the mitzvot, the 4 mitzvot of the 4 species, and every day the Hallel and the prayers and the Hosha'anot. The Jewish people went through 7 days of real happiness. I'm talking about the Jews who go to synagogue and pray. Of course, this year, unfortunately, because of the Corona calamity, we have been limited, of course, no question. And still you could see that the Jewish people are doing the best they can, because they cannot omit from themselves such beautiful days. So you find them, a few, maybe not all of them, because still there is a danger in the street, as it says. But anyway, the day was Simchat Torah. I mean, it's unbelievable. Why Simchat Torah, which is the day of Shmini Atzeret? Shmini Atzeret is another day of celebration. Why? Because God Himself is asking us to give Him another day. But in the land of Israel, it's also the day of Simchat Torah, the joy of the Torah. Outside Israel, of course, they celebrate 2 days in every holiday. So what happens is that they have the first day is the Shmini Chag Atzeret, and the second day is Simchat Torah. So we understand on Simchat Torah, besides the fact that there is a cause for celebration, because we conclude the Torah and the study of the Torah, of the written Torah, right? We have come to the conclusion by reading the Parashat of Vezot HaBeracha and ending with the words Le'ene Kol Israel. And it is known as a tradition among the Jewish people that when you finish even one tractate of the Talmud, it's a day of celebration. It's a day in which there is merriment, eating and drinking and se'udah and everything, right? So how much more if you do the siyum, it's called siyum, the conclusion of the whole Torah, of course, it's a cause for celebration, and that's the reason why we dance around the Torah on the day of Simchat Torah. But nevertheless, the question remains: why specifically on that day? Number one, I mean, it's taking some of the aura of the day itself, which is Shmini Atzeret, which is a holiday by itself. And at the same time, apparently, there is a bigger question. It should have been on Shavuot. The holiday of Shavuot was the day in which the Jewish people received the Torah at the mountain of Sinai. Don't you think this should be the day for all the happiness and the joy around the Torah? Why waiting 3 months after Hag HaShavuot in order to do this kind of celebration, which is practically extraordinary? Why? Why not on Shavuot? The answer is simple. The truth is that when we receive the Torah on the day of Shavuot, we receive the Torah. We did proclaim Na'aseh v'nishma. We accept and we will understand later. That's Nishma. So it means that when we received the Torah, we still didn't know, we still didn't taste the Torah. We didn't know exactly what is the Torah itself, what is concealed in the Torah. So even though there was a place for celebration, for the receival of the Torah itself, for the giving of the Torah, but at the same time, there is not that much enthusiasm that you could see on the day of Simchat Torah. So the question is why? 3 months later? Yes, because 3 months later, on the day of Simchat Torah, we finally came to the conclusion that the Torah is a treasury that is unequal to any other treasure. That the Torah has in it the kind of commandments, the kind of advices, the kind of beautiful things and wisdom, pearls of wisdom. There is, now we know about the Torah. Now we know, after 3 months since we received the Torah, we understand that the Torah is a tremendous gift that God has given to Jewish people. So now we can dance. No question about it. That's the reason why Simchat Torah comes 3 months after Shavuot. There is a story that symbolizes this concept, this theory that we have said. The story of a king who had only one daughter, and this princess was very spoiled. She had so many people, so many princes coming to ask for her hand, but she refused everyone. Finally, her father became mad and said, "Now you are going to marry the first man who will appear before me." The next day, the first man that appeared, that happened to be near the palace, was invited to come in, and Sa Majesté, the king says to him, "Sir, I don't know who you are, but I want you to know, you are going to get married to my daughter, the princess." The man stood stupefied. Wow, I'm being given the princess? I am a poor person, I'm nothing. But he didn't say anything. Okay, thank you very much. He was happy, but inside him he had all kinds of doubts. What's going on? Perhaps she's sick, so he's giving me not a gift, but a curse. And who knows what else she has? Okay, there was a wedding. They danced in the wedding. But the chuten, the groom was not so happy. He was happy, of course, in a way, but the happiness was not very big. It was not explosive. Why? Because he was worried. He had anxiety. Maybe, who knows what she had? Maybe her body is full of leprosy. Well, after a few days after the wedding, he found out that the body of his wife, the princess, is beautiful. Not only she's beautiful on her face, she's so beautiful, but her body is very beautiful. Then what's wrong? Why is it that I was chosen to marry the princess? He said, probably there is a problem with her brain. Maybe she's crazy. Well, for that requires more time. little by little, with the days that pass, he finds out that not only she's beautiful in everything, but she's the smartest human being. Smart, brilliant, everything. It took him 3 months until he finally realized that he received the best gift in the world. 3 months later, he himself organized the biggest party. Finally, I can be happy because I realize now that my princess is beautiful in every sense of the word. Well, this is the story of the Torah. When we received the Torah, we were happy, but at the same time, we had anxiety. What's going on in this Torah? Why did he choose us to 613 commandments? I mean, versus the other nations who received only 7. Must be something, some trick here. It took us 3 months to find out that the Torah is full of blessings, full of benefits and wonderful things. 613 commandments, 613 blessings. Now we can be happy that we have received, that we were chosen to receive the Torah. Now you see why Simchat Torah happens to be on that day. The reason why it took in the land of Israel, it's in the time when the holiday of Shmini Atzeret, because Shmini Atzeret is also a holiday of tremendous simcha. Why? Let me explain why. So, as I said before, God came after 7 days of Sukkot. He came to the Jewish people. He was in love with the Jewish people. After the Jewish people went through 7 days of the Sukkah and the mitzvot, so many mitzvot. I mean, Sukkot is really surrounded with a plethora of happy things. So God became infatuated with the Jewish people. So he said to them, now you are going to leave me, please stay with me 1 more day. Akevu iti yom echad. Why? Because it's hard for me to separate from you. To separate is only figurative. It means that not a holiday anymore, it will be just a weekday. So he said, give me 1 more day. So this was a proof that God loves his people Israel. And now we know that's why we dance on the day of Simchat Torah, even though it is Shmini Atzeret. Why? Because we have realized on Shmini Atzeret that God really loves the Jewish people. If that's the case, we love him also. And we fulfill the mitzvah of Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. We love Hashem also. Therefore, we reciprocate by dancing and being happy with the Torah, which is symbolical to the fact that we are happy and dancing with God himself. That's to the best of my ability to bring this according to what many Mefarshim have written. Now we go to the Parashat Bereisheet. So remember, yes, we did come to the end of the Torah, but the Torah has a rule. It's never ending. And that's the reason why on the day of Simchat Torah we read the conclusion of the Torah in the Parashat Vezot HaBeracha, and then we start immediately with Parashat Bereisheet, which we are going to get to read again this coming Shabbat. Why the urge? I mean, couldn't we wait 1 week and then we start Bereisheet, the beginning of the Torah? No! We don't stop even a minute with the Torah. The Torah does not have an end. You could call it that it has a beginning, but it does not have an end, because once we reach the end, we immediately start again. And that's why we began with Bereisheet. So therefore, we must understand that there is a connection between Bereisheet and the end. Number one, the heart of the Jewish people filled up with the love for God, as God's heart, in the figurative sense of the word, of course, was full of love for the Jewish people. It is symbolized with the last letter of the Torah, of the ending of the Torah, which is Le'ene Kol Israel. The last letter is Lamed. And immediately with the beginning of the Torah, which begins with Bereisheet, that the first letter is Bet, together Lamed and Bet is Lev. Lev means the heart, which means the heart of the Jewish people is replete, is full of love and happiness, because we have been chosen by the Almighty who loves us. That's one thing. But there is another thing that I would like to share with you. What do we do on Simchat Torah? Many celebrations, right? Many seudot, no question about it. Why? Because we came to the conclusion of the Torah. We did not finish. We started immediately, but at the same time we have to celebrate that which we call in Hebrew siyum, the conclusion of the Torah. Like when you conclude the study of one tractate of the Talmud, you have to have a kind of seudah, or a kind of you invite people, eat together, and a celebration. So how much more when it is when you finish the whole Torah, right? So therefore, there is no question about it that we have to celebrate. But the point is, we celebrate, but we don't stop. We immediately begin again with Bereisheet. The Torah does not have an end, as we said. And it is symbolized in the word siyum, which means the conclusion. So listen to this. Siyum, in Hebrew, conclusion, is made of 4 letters. Samach, Yud, and Vav, and Mem. So what? Samach has a numerical value of 60. Now let's see. Samach is, the letter Samach is 60. But you have to know that every letter in the Hebrew alphabet has also, every letter has its something that replenish it. It's called in Kabbalistic word milui. What is it that completes the letter Samach? I mean, use your lips. When you say Samach, you say Sa, Mach. Mach is Mem, Kaf. Mem is 40 and Kaf is 20. Together is 60. So we have the letter Samach is 60 and the 2 letters Mem and Kaf which complete the word Samach, right? Also 60. So twice 60. Let's see the Yud of Siyum. Yud also has the same thing. Yud itself is 10. Everybody knows that. But the milui of Yud is Vav Dalet. Yud, watch your lips. Yud. That's Yud, Vav, Dalet. For anybody who knows, of course, the shape of the Hebrew alphabets. So Yud is 10 by itself, the letter is 10. And then you have Vav and Dalet. Vav is 6 and Dalet is 4. Together is 10. So again we have, in Yud, we have twice 10. Let's go further. Vav. Vav of Siyum, of course. You write Samach, Yud, Vav, Mem. Vav itself is 6. The letter Vav is 6. But Vav also has that which completes it. Watch your lips. Vav. That means another Vav. So if the first one is 6, the second one is 6 also. So it's double. The last letter of Siyum is Mem. We'll have the same story. Mem itself is 40. The letter Mem is 40. What is that? The letters that completes it? Watch the way you pronounce it. Mem. Twice Mem. The first Mem is 40, the second Mem is 40 also. So you have double on each one. What does it mean? That gives us the hint that the Torah must be not only double, it needs only a way to show you that you don't stop. The letter Samach is 60, but give it another one, and another one, and another one. That's the meaning of completing. By the Jewish people, we don't finish learning. The Torah says, Ki hayecha ve'orech yamecha. The Torah is the length of our life, of the days of our life. That means all the days of your life you cannot stop learning Torah. A Jew who can, an Avrech who sits in the kollel, does not stop learning. At night he has to sleep something. But then as soon as he wakes up, just learning and learning and learning. A Jew who cannot, because he has to go to work, then he does whatever he can. A little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. But a Jew without Torah at all is hardly a Jew. Then maybe Jews must pray for him, because he's completely an empty shell. Without Torah, you cannot do anything. You are hardly a Jew. Maybe if you do charity and tzedakah, chesed and kindness, and maybe we will count for something. But without Torah, the Jew is not much. He needed Torah, and the Torah quite has to be continued all the time, which is symbolized by the letters of Siyum. Only those letters, the letters of the word Siyum, for which we celebrate. We don't celebrate because we finish the Torah. We celebrate because we finish and start the Torah. That's exactly what is the definition of what it means. What is the learning of Torah? That's the reason why we are so happy on the day of Simchat Torah, that we explode with happiness and dancing and everything. There is a story, Hasidic story, that on the day of Simchat Torah, people come by the hundreds, not this year, unfortunately, you know why, but usually every year, every Simchat Torah, people come from all over. They come and dance. And you could see among the Jews, some people are scholars, some people are not. Some people are Ameh Haaretz, they don't know much in Torah. And yet all of them dance. So the Hasidic story says that there in the time, I think it is Rabbi Israel Salanter or maybe another Admor, they were dancing and dancing with the Torah in their hands. Suddenly the Admor, the chief rabbi, he realized that there is one Jew who also dances with the Torah, even though he himself is an ignoramus, doesn't know anything about Torah. So he came to him, he said, "Why do you dance over the Torah? You don't have Torah, why do you dance?" So the man answered a very nice answer that gave the rabbi a lot to think about. He said to him, "Rabbi, if my brother is getting married, I shouldn't dance in his wedding? So I came to dance to your wedding. You know Torah. I don't know Torah, but I still dance for my brothers who know Torah." I understand that this is not enough. A Jew must learn Torah, but nevertheless, the Jew is a Jew, is our brother, and we have to find ways how to bring them to come to learn Torah. Anyone who knows how to teach Torah and who has something to transmit to others is under the obligation to teach Torah. There's no question about it. A good teacher of Torah cannot refuse to teach Torah. And he don't have to be paid. The Torah was given for free. Our sages said, "Ma Torah nitna bechinam, afata bechinam." The Torah gave us the Torah. God gave us the Torah without having to pay anything. Therefore, we teach Torah without having to pay. Of course, you will ask me, so how come teachers of yeshiva, they do receive their salary, right? But our sages already answered this question by saying that salary does not come to pay them for the Torah that they teach. It comes to pay them for the time that they spend. Instead of going to do other things, other professions, they come and teach Torah. That's why they receive money. But the money itself is not for the Torah teaching, is rather for the time that is being spent at teaching the Torah. Think about it. That's what the halacha says. That's what our sages say. And that teaches us the value of that treasure that God gave us that we call Torah. And remember, at the end of Parashat Vezot HaBeracha, we read, Torah tzivalanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov, which means the Torah that was handed to us by Moses is an inheritance to every Jew, to all Israel. So, Jews who learn Torah, they benefit from that treasure that they received. But the Jew who do not learn Torah at all, while they have, it's like somebody who has millions in the bank, but he would never come to the bank to pick up some of the money. That's really terrible. It's ridiculous. You have so much money in the bank and you don't enjoy it. That's exactly what I think about the Jew who does not learn Torah. The Torah is yours. It's your morasha, it's your inheritance. Why not benefit from it and learn it? That's a cause for bitterness for many Jews. Nevertheless, what we have to do is to love every Jew and to try to bring any kind of Jew to come and and drink that elixir of life that we call the Torah. May God give us the blessing of the Torah for all of you, my friends, for all of us, for all the people of Israel, and may we see the Mashiach coming soon to redeem us from what's happening today, and also so that we can see the truth even brighter, in a brighter way than until now. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.